Okay, we're live with the Puppet Community PR Triage for July 7th. And we have myself, Josh, Michael, and Peter on the call so far. So this week we don't have any Puppet server PRs. We last week merged two PRs to Puppet. And then we have a set of items to review from last time. And starting off from last time, there was a PR to the static compiler. This is PR 4041 for threading the request environment through the static compiler. There are a couple of comments that we left on the PR, and we're waiting to figure out some more detail around there, and that's something I'm going to take a look at. There's an existing behavior, it looks like, where file content find will return nil. Can return nil, but the code doesn't handle that case. So we'll take a look at that one. The next one up is Felix's PUP 1072, which is adding HTTP support for the file type, and that's something that we have pulled in to our next sprint, which our sprint planning starts tomorrow and goes for 2 weeks. So that'll be next up. And next up after that is PUP 1388, and this is adding the list command to the file bucket. And I think that we still had some review needed on that one. Let's see, 3943. Yeah, this one we're still taking a look at. We'll come back to that one. Next after that is the Augeus return values PR. This is PR 3952. That's also something we've pulled into the next sprint. Everything there looks good. Contributor updated the commit message with the subject line and you know, previous and new behavior as part of that change. The next one after that is sorting FS tab entries, PR 3953. That's also been pulled into our next sprint. And the next one after that is adding a diff command to file bucket. This is 3961. This, Peter left some comments on the PR there, and we're just waiting for the contributor on that one. The next one after that is using a proxy when fetching latest from pip packages. And that one, Spencer is going to look at updating the pip provider to use JSON. No change really from last week. So next one up after that is optimizing and securing safe POSIX fork. Peter left comments on there, basically ensuring that we never call close on file descriptor 022. And we're waiting on the contributor for that one. Next up is the service types not retrieve ensure status, PR 4038. And the main thing here is that there's been a lot of discussion on the mailing list about how changing this behavior for all types would be a breaking change, as code assumes that the ensure property exists. The contributor left a comment on the PR. This is I haven't followed up on this, but I pointed out Andy's comment on that thread, and the author had said that he's suggesting he's not changing the the basic or the type class behavior, but only the service type. But I don't know that that's any different in the sense that the calling code might expect that service types have that same behavior too. I understand there's definitely some performance improvement. Yeah, any thoughts on this?
Is there any decent way for us to validate whether something uses it?
I don't know. That's a good question. The actual thing that broke was the mcollective and datacat collector modules.
Okay.
So it's kind of hard to define where that boundary is.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it doesn't seem like we can change the behavior of the service type either because we have no idea what code might be using that indirection and getting back, resource RAL instances, right? Instances of Puppet type service, and now it has different behavior.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to put down, I will reply.
Yeah, I don't see a good way to do it.
Unless you have an opt-in kind of thing like he's suggesting, right? Which then seems, yeah.
Ooh, options.
But in that case, it seems like you'd want a generic metaparameter.
Yeah.
Like not make it service specific. But it seems like whatever we do, we should figure out what the right thing is on Puppet Dev and figure out, and move forward from there.
There's nothing missing from preview.0 that wasn't 1.0.1. Right, but the metadata says requires V8.1.
I'm not even sure if this would actually work. I mean, how would you know? Like the thing that's consuming these resources may not know, but I guess if it's opt-in, then that maybe will work. All right, I'll reply to that. Yeah, the next one up is PR 4039, and that's about adding show changes option to the report summary. Contributor replied to our latest comments from yesterday. I honestly haven't had time to look through them yet. It definitely seemed like it was going in the right direction, collapsing everything into a single method, so we're not, adding that state that we were capturing previously. Let's see, 4039. There was an AppVeyor issue that Michael kicked off. Took care of some of the issues we had about using the regex to extract the type and title. That seems decent. This is new. I'm not quite sure about the schedule and file bucket, why those are explicitly skipped.
It might have been automatically skipped by the regex match earlier. I don't quite remember what the logic was before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, okay, I didn't check the result of it, so I don't know. Yeah, I would ask about that. I'm not sure.
Okay. I'm still not sure whether there should be a separate thing different from the, printing the summary. Thoughts?
Can you say that again?
Should we basically be doing this logic when we print the summary instead of having two separate options for summarize and show changes?
Ah, okay. I wonder how verbose this would get.
Have I been talking all this time, or has my microphone been broken?
It's been broken.
Yeah.
That explains a lot. So I've been talking to nobody. I was saying that this method is now called display changes, and it doesn't actually display the change, it retrieves the change, so that's kind of weird. And if the changes are empty, it just prints a blank line. I know the contributor is trying to sort of copy what we're doing in SemReport for displaying the summary, but these are just sort of stylistic things. If this should probably just be changes, or get changes or something along those lines rather than display changes. And otherwise, if it's display changes, I think we should just put the puts inside of display changes rather than, but minor nitpicky stuff.
And what about displaying these separate from the report summary? Should those be independent things or part of displaying the summary?
I don't know enough about the use case of the contributor wants here to say whether or not it should always be tied to the summary or not. Summarize is mostly just a debugging tool, right?
Yeah, it shows like how many how many resources were in sync, how many were successfully changed and failed, that sort of thing. And I think.
Right, but it doesn't get. So I didn't check the serialization, but I'd assume that this just gets written to standard out, and that's it. It doesn't get captured anywhere else. So it's kind of more of a, I'm debugging this agent, and I want to see what happened. Happening.
Right. Yeah, it's just on the to output. So here's, you can kind of see in this example, he's got, these are his this is the show changes part. Actually, this too, I think. And then this is what the summarize normally shows.
Yeah, it does seem like it should be part of that. I don't know how widely used summarize is, though.
I know that things like mcollective use it, but I think that it's more they parse the last run summary file that we write out, as opposed to, like scraping output or that sort of thing. So that should be, at least from a Puppet mcollective integration, that should be okay. It'd be okay, as in it would be okay to add this to report summary.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it semantically makes sense to be part of the summary. It is summarizing, and it's just showing, the changes part of it. That's all. Whether or not, if we do move it to the summary, though, I don't think it qualifies to have its own setting as a part. It's just going to be additional information to the summary.
Right. One thing Michael brought up was how much, like how verbose could this get? And it seems like you'd have at least one entry for every resource type that gets applied. Um,
Yeah, resource and title, at least a line for each resource, basically, of that type.
yeah. Seems like a good thing to ask on Puppet Dev. How do people anticipate using this? Does that make sense?
I think so.
Right, so some things we talked about were all right. The other thing we talked about is whether or not this actually belongs here at all, and whether or not it should be, for example, a command line application that you could write to get more information about the report itself, because all this information is in there. And I don't know, I could go either way. It seems like I could see some value in getting this information directly from the run, as long as it's not overly complicating the implementation, which it seems more straightforward now that he fixed this loop up. Sound good?
I'm on board.
Okay, next one up is 4042. This is adding agent timing to the report. And this one I haven't, let's see. Yeah, so we left some comments. I was noticing a comment in the ticket that Henrik was saying about, because it's adding something to the report, which is then persisted, it's something we should talk about in PuppetDB. He said that, or PuppetDev, says it was taken to the list, and it looks like this is the result of what ended up in the PR, but I haven't had a chance to actually review that. And we also have some comments that we left from last time that still need to be addressed. And this one, the next one up is AIX user attributes PR 4059. That one also I just haven't had time to look at, and we'll take a look at that before next week. That's it for the PRs from things that were kind of unblocked. There's also PR 3931, which is adding the RCNG service provider. Jasper's out and said that he'll take a look at our comments when he gets back, that this was about we still need to confine the provider to NetBSD. And after that was the PR 4052 file mode retrieved by static compiler should be stringified. I left a comment on the ticket, still waiting on the contributor on that one. See, the issue there is that it seems like there's a test that should be failing that isn't, and that should be updated. And then we're blocked on the version compare PR that's there. The only other new PR that came in was about the Windows hard coding the system root directory, and that's something I'll just take a look at and merge after this. What's this one? So let's see. Yeah, I was asking him about a unit test, so maybe I'll wait on that to see, and if he replies back soon, I can merge that one. I think that is it for new things.
Hey, Felix.
Oh,
Hi.
hey, how's it going?
I'm trying to remember the pub ticket that I filed about providing a general caching mechanism for that is flushed at the end of catalog compilation, because that seems appropriate for the timing metrics as well. But I don't know what I did with that.
Yeah.
They're just like a really terrifying flowchart of ways that users can go, and the only happy path is I got PE381, I got PE2O, and everything else is just scary and bad. And
Okay. All right. Hey, Felix. I'm not sure when you joined, but I did want to let you know about the PRs we have open. 1072 HTTP support is something we've added to our next sprint, and sprint planning starts tomorrow. So that'll should be part of that, unless it gets bumped due to other priorities due to a release that we're trying to get out. But hopefully that should get in there. There was also the sorting FS tab entries one that is in the same boat that's been added. I think those were the two that you have outstanding. Is that right?
That sounds about right.
Cool. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No, I was wondering whether we should get over some details of 1072, in case you got any questions already.
You might be able to refresh my memory. Did we talk about any potential issues with file bucketing with that?
No, I don't think so. But if we did, I'd assume that I would have maintained that there should not be any issues, or should there?
I was remembered if we do last modified, well, I guess it's going to be the same problem that any other file sync has, which is it'll just resync every time, or it will not reuse the file bucket.
Well, with most files that are retrieved via vanilla HTTP, you will want to use mtime for checksumming. So as to keep the downloads in check. that'll work. But yeah, the local file bucket, that's a good question.
I probably just need to run through an example. I can't think of any reason it would really cause a problem. It just might not. And I don't know what we would do if it did.
I mean, I think that the file bucket is used just prior to replacing the local file, right? So when the agent decides that it should store something to the bucket, it will have to generate the MD5 hash of the local copy anyway.
Oh yeah, yeah, that is what it does.
So it shouldn't really matter where the content comes from that causes the sync and the subsequent or the intermediate file bucketing.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Good point, though.
Oh.
So what is currently a little dissatisfactory because yeah, it's you might consider it a little unclean, and I don't think there's anything that is really comparable to this behavior because we have this file info, file metadata terminus, which we cannot be sure that it supports quite the type of metadata that the agent requested. So most HTTP files don't have an MD5 sum, right? So with a Puppet file server, we can be pretty sure that it will respond in a meaningful fashion, but with HTTP, we can either just fail and say, well, you wanted an MD5 sum, I don't have one, well, tough luck. But that would be pretty inconvenient because that is the norm. Which is especially annoying because the checksum parameter of the file type, it always has a value. There's a default of MD5, and you cannot just create a file resource that plainly doesn't care about the checksum method. It's always something. Has to be overridden to none if you don't want one, or to mtime if you prefer mtime. But resources that don't specify a checksum will try and retrieve the MD5. So I settled for using mtime anyway, even though perhaps MD5 was requested or something else was requested. We just use what we can get. That's the bottom part of the first patch in this one.
Is this part in here?
Yeah.
I don't know that I would do it differently. After having worked on fixing up some of the checksum stuff, I think that whole area needs kind of a rethink. Yeah, trying to imagine what we're going to do for file bucket and coming up with better use cases to ensure consistency locally while not incurring costs on large files. Yeah, the file bucket part in particular, figuring out how to do that when we have different checksums for different files that could change is going to be interesting to try and do.
All right. So any other comments on this?
No, I think about all I would still do is some more functional review, just which is why we pulled it into the sprint.
Yep.
Cool.
Oh, so from the AST.
Kind of.
Okay, I don't have a quick answer for that, so yeah, I just
Okay. I think that is the end of the triage, unless anyone has anything to talk about.
Wow, that was quick. I do
Yeah,
have a.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question that is not directly code related, but rather packaging. Does any of you happen to have any knowledge of what is going on in packaging at the moment?
The AIO packaging?
Yeah, I just tried it recently,
Uh-huh.
and I failed to get the thing onto Debian 8.
Yes. So I meant to reply to that. I thought there was a Debian 8 release engineering ticket. This is about the sources,
Yeah.
right? Um,
Oh, right, that.
Yep.
Ticket, you say?
The the packaging tickets are often private.
Oh, okay. I asked on the users list, and nobody has really chimed in with any feedback yet, but I mean, it was just 2 days ago, so just thought I'd ask. Couldn't hurt.
I think this is it here.
Which probably means it's a pup. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that looks about right. I'm currently squinting furiously at my phone.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. That's great.
Yeah.
The same.
Oh, okay. So people are currently working on that. I mean, that's great news.
Yes.
That's basically all I needed to hear.
So just so I understand, you're saying in a default install, trying to install Puppet Agent on Debian, sorry, on Jesse, it fails.
Yeah.
Okay.
I pretty much followed the steps from the blog post about the PC1.
Yep.
And yeah, you get a weird error message, and that's it. But hey, if Melissa's on that, I'm confident.
Yep. Yeah, that's.
That
Go
might
ahead, Michael.
reinforce. That might suggest doing something a little sooner. I'm not sure that
Yeah.
came through in this ticket.
Yeah, I'll comment on that and make sure that that's obvious. I know they know, but it'd be
On
good
the
to have
other, I
transparency
mean, it's
about what's going on.
it's not terribly urgent to me, and apparently it's not a huge deal for the user base at large because there hasn't been much feedback or pretty much no feedback on the list. So yeah, I think we have not so many Debian 8 adopters and not so many Puppet 4 adopters, and
Mm-hmm.
the cross section is slim enough.
So you're saying that just installing Puppet Agent on Debian 8 doesn't work at all? Or is it a particular configuration of Debian 8?
No, it's pretty vanilla. But I mean,
Give it a try.
I only tried the PC one. I didn't go for the regular package repository. I mean, that will likely work.
Yeah.
Just was so curious for the PC.
Right.
I'm gonna give it a try.
Which I wonder why we don't see this in acceptance testing.
We may install differently. I don't think we use the. I don't think we actually use the repo sources. I think we copy down the package and install it.
Yeah, that's concerning.
Yeah, not the best. I wondered why we do that as well.
All right. That's two things to figure out. All right.
That was interesting. Okay. And oh, yeah, so just doing an apt-get update with that doesn't work.
So this is where I am down the rabbit hole. So first, along this type parser, checking a string as produced by type calculator. The calculator is expecting a C anyway. Yeah, so now I'm trying to find that.
Yep. Okay, anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Sounds good. Michael, Peter, you guys good?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, well that is a wrap, and hopefully we'll get these tickets into the next sprint and these PRs merged. So thanks everyone for the time, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Felix.
Yeah, see ya.
Thanks for your help, folks. Bye.
Bye.